Alright everyone, welcome to part 2 of exposing Stephen Ridley's piano scam. If you're not already aware of who Stephen Ridley is, he's the guy from this ad. I'm sure most of you have seen it by now. Anyway, a few weeks ago I made a shorter video about this, talking about why I believe Stephen Ridley's course is a scam, and mentioning his ties to the Church of Scientology. I drastically underestimated the impact this video would have, and I drastically underestimated the amount of people who care about this issue. So today, I'm going to fix that. This video will be a bit of a repeat from the last video, but I'm going to go into way more detail about Stephen and his course, and I'm going to confront one of the Ridley Academy employees who's been accused of doing some pretty bad stuff. So hopefully, I'm going to uncover the real people and the real intentions behind the Ridley Academy once and for all. And I'll just tell you guys right now, there's a lot of evidence to suggest that the Ridley Academy is a recruiting front for the Church of Scientology. According to Stephen's various self-published bios, he grew up in a small village in South Yorkshire, England, in a family of modest means.
I grew up in a village, 40 people, nothing to do. I didn't see anything. I just wanted to escape.
He began to play piano at the age of 2 and taught himself until he began to receive formal training at age 9. At age 11, he began to attend the Queen Elizabeth Grammar School, a private boys' school in Wakefield, England, where he continued to receive piano lessons. When he was 14, his father passed away, and his family, now supported only by his mother, became very poor. Now, I can't confirm anything, but it seems contradictory that Stephen's family was extremely poor, yet he was attending an expensive British private school.
I went to a top music school for 14 years. That was $9,000 a year.
But that's not very important, so I'll keep going. Anyway, in 2007, he graduated from this school and went on to attend Durham University, where he studied philosophy, politics, and economics. In July of 2010, he began to work as an investment banking analyst at UBS, formerly known as the Union Bank of Switzerland, which is currently the largest Swiss bank, as well as the world's largest private bank. As you would expect, he was making a lot of money at this job, but despite being very financially successful, he hated it. And in November of 2011, he quit. After he walked out of the bank, he was walking down the street in a state of shock, but also in a state of relief, when he saw a piano in a shop. He sat down at the piano and began to play. He played for just a few minutes, but to him, it felt like hours. He was in a trance. He was one with the instrument. And after he was finished, he looked behind him and a massive crowd had formed, each person in it just as transfixed in awe at his incredible playing as he was.
And I turn around, and it's about 600 people.
What?
The street is blocked, and they've all got the phone out, and they're like this.
After a moment of silence, the crowd erupted. They loved him, and it was at this moment that he knew what he would dedicate the rest of his life to doing. In a flash of inspiration, it came to him. He would become a piano con artist. Stephen has had a lot of success as a performing singer and pianist. He has performed for some really big crowds, some really powerful and influential people, and for some really big companies and brands.
Then I'm going to be playing at the opening of the Monaco Grand Prix.
But why is this? I'll admit, Stephen is a pretty good singer. Wings of Pegasus made a video about him using pitch correction on his voice in his ads, but regardless of that, I have to admit he has a good voice, although I don't personally enjoy the sound of it. However, his piano playing is definitely a different story. I would never have guessed that he started playing when he was 2, took lessons for many years starting at age 9, and has continued to practice until his current age of around 35. He plays like an amateur. I have only seen him use 3 basic playing techniques, which I think can be summarized with this quote from Stephen himself.
The illusion of complexity is created by doing many simple things at the same time.
The first technique he uses is playing blues scales with his right hand while he plays octaves or chords with his left. This may seem complex, but for any pianist with a bit of experience, it's pretty easy to get the hang of. The second technique he uses is playing arpeggios with his right hand, while again playing octaves or chords with his left. This is an even easier technique than the previous one, as Once you know how chords work and when to play them, all you have to do is play whatever 3 or 4 notes are in the chord in pretty much any way you want. The third technique is one he usually uses for slow songs, which is playing repeated chords with his right hand while holding a note or octave with his left. This is the easiest of them all, and most beginner pianists could probably do this without a huge amount of effort. He then combines these techniques in various ways to keep the musical texture somewhat interesting. He uses these techniques even when they don't suit what he's playing at all. Take a look at how he plays Time from the movie Inception by Hans Zimmer. I think this is a great example of how limited his playing ability really is. This piece is not a pop song. You're not supposed to headbang to it. I think if Hans Zimmer was dead, he'd be rolling in his grave right now. And now, we come to the most important part of Stephen Ridley's playing. This is what my friend Slade Forrest calls
cognitive, musculo-skeletal-facial, gyros-and-passionology movements.
This is how Stephen convinces people that what he is playing is actually complex. First, he makes a face, as though he is constipated but experiencing extreme pleasure at the same time. Then, he aggressively headbangs and moves his body in ways the human body isn't supposed to usually move. Sometimes, he will stand or jump on the bench, or slap the piano, or punch the piano, or stand on the piano. Most of you, especially those of you who are pianists, probably got the feeling of jabbing a toothpick under your fingernail when you watched that video, except instead of your fingernail, it was your soul, and instead of a toothpick, it was Stephen Ridley's nasty feet standing on the keyboard of that piano. This is something that no musician at Stephen's playing level should ever do. Maybe when you get good enough, you kind of have the right to do whatever you want to your instrument, like Jimi Hendrix burning his guitar, but Stephen is no Jimi Hendrix. His playing is very mediocre. Now, of course, there is nothing intrinsically wrong with being a mediocre pianist. After all, music is meant to be enjoyed, and not to be gatekept by some snobby and uptight elitist like me. If you're just playing piano for fun, any level of playing is great, and you should keep doing that. If you're only interested in playing simple pop music, well, then you don't really have a reason to be a super advanced pianist, and that's fine. If you're a beginner, or in the process of learning and improving your piano skills, that's very admirable, because learning piano is hard, and I think in most cases, we should encourage people at all playing levels. The reason I'm making such a big deal out of Stephen's playing is because he claims he is a master concert pianist.
I've been a concert pianist for more than 9 years.
And then uses this to sell a scam course. I know a lot of pianists who are way better and way more qualified to teach piano than Stephen, and none of them toot their own horn as much as Stephen does. In December of 2018, Stephen announced for the first time that he was making a piano course. From the very beginning, he branded it as a completely new way of learning that would revolutionize music education. In March of 2019, he released the Ridley Academy. At this point, it included 2 courses. The first was the Complete Piano Masterclass, which he claimed would take anyone from a complete beginner to a master pianist within 12 months with only 3 minutes of practice per day. Later, he also claimed that the course could be completed in as little as 6 months, and that it was 150 times faster than traditional methods of learning piano.
I can teach you piano more than 150 times faster than the way I did it. I can teach you with just 3 minutes practice per day. It takes 6 to 12 months of 3 minutes per day.
The second course he offered was the Artist Development Program. In this course, he would teach singing, songwriting, composing, and how to market yourself as a musician and build an audience. This continued until the pandemic, when he began to really ramp up his advertising. I remember starting to see his ads in 2020 or 2021, and in 2023, he started advertising even more. In July of 2023, he posted his iconic 4 chords ad. As of right now, this ad has been viewed over 80 million times. Currently, he offers 3 courses through the Ridley Academy. The most popular one is still the Complete Piano Masterclass, but he seems to have taken his artist development program from a few years ago and broken it up into 2 courses, a singing course and a Marketing Yourself as a Musician course. The combined cost of these courses is nearly $8,000, but he frequently gives large discounts in his free masterclasses and brings the combined price down to about $1,400, which he frames as an absolute steal. In this video, I'm focusing on the piano course, but I believe most of what I will say about it applies to his other courses as well. All of these claims about the effectiveness of the Ridley Academy are, of course, dishonest, but I'll get to that, because the scam starts before you even buy the course. Let's put ourselves into the perspective of someone who's maybe a little naive, seeing one of his ads pop up for the first time. So, you're on YouTube, you're watching videos, when his ad comes up, and you think, wow, this is incredible, he can teach me how to play piano, and he's got a free masterclass. You click on the link, and you're taken to the page to register for the free live masterclass. Once you register, you get directed to another page, which says, not only is the masterclass free and live, but Stephen will also be giving away a $4,000 digital piano for free to one lucky attendee of the masterclass.
This incredible $4,000 piano for free.
This sounds great, right? Well, a lot of people have had this exact experience, and what many of them have said is that, first of all, the masterclass is not actually live. Sometimes it is, but most of the time it's just a pre-recorded video with fake live chat comments. Secondly, Stephen spends very little time teaching anything during this masterclass, and spends most of the time trying to convince you to buy his paid course using various high-pressure sales tactics. Then at the end, when it's time to give away the piano, he'll either pretend to give it away, or pretend something in the live chat malfunctioned so he can't give it away. He supposedly gives away a free piano every week, but I have not heard of a single person ever actually getting one. So that's lie number 1 from Stephen Ridley. Lie number 2 is his claim that traditional music education is painful, boring, and inefficient.
They were tremendously overwhelming. Difficult, boring, disciplined.
He tries to scare people away from real education so they buy his course by telling them that if they get a normal piano teacher, they'll be put under a huge amount of pressure and stress, they'll have to make sense of thousands of incomprehensible symbols.
There are thousands of symbols which no one understands.
And learn a huge amount of useless music theory, and they'll have to practice for hours every day for 15 years.
6 hours of practice a day for 15 years.
And on top of all that, everything will be taught in Latin.
It's still taught in Latin, which no one understands.
Any musician who has taken lessons will know that none of this is true. Teaching piano and music is a very old practice that has been perfected for centuries, and it's usually structured in a way that is as easy for a beginner to understand as possible. Your teacher will start with very basic concepts, and you will practice and improve these concepts, and then you will gradually learn more advanced things and practice those, and that's how you actually become a good pianist. You'll be able to understand the symbols and read music. You don't have to learn a lot of theory, but of course it's always a good idea. You won't have to practice for hours, although many pianists do because they love playing. It won't take you 15 years to get good, and most importantly, your teacher will never talk to you in Latin. That's an absolutely insane thing for him to say. That's never happened. Of course, there are some bad teachers, but they are definitely not a reflection of the entire piano teacher community. So, if you go to a piano teacher and they aren't very good, you can just go to a different one. So, there is already a lot of dishonesty here, and we haven't even talked about his actual course yet, which there are a lot of problems with. The first is that, although he says it's a totally new approach to learning piano, it does not include a single new idea. For example, his 4-chord concept is something that people have been talking about for a really long time, and his famous 4-chord ad bears a very striking similarity to the 4-chord song by The Axis of Awesome.
Just 4?
Yeah, these 4, here. 1, 2, 3, 4 chords.
He tries to make some of his ideas look new by explaining them differently from how they're usually taught, but this just makes them more confusing. Listen to how he explains chord extensions.
So if we play an expanded chord, all we really mean is more notes at the same time. And again, if you're taking notes, as crazy as this is, just write this down. If you want to instantly make your music sound so much more powerful, simply add some expanded chords.
You might think he should explain how chord extensions work and the logic behind them like a normal person, but that would be music theory. And music theory is useless.
This is the next evolution in piano education.
As for the claim that you'll only have to practice for 3 minutes a day for a few months to become a master pianist, no reasonable person would ever seriously suggest that. Getting good at piano takes a lot of effort. It doesn't take as much effort with traditional lessons as Stephen says it does, but it's hard. And if you want to learn piano but only practice 3 minutes a day, I don't think you really want to learn piano. Now that we've established that the course contains no original ideas, and that practicing 3 minutes a day won't get you anywhere, we have to ask, what does this course offer that makes it worth $2,997? And the answer to that is nothing. Every single bit of information in this course is already available for free online. In addition to it being free, it will be explained in a much less confusing way. If you do want to learn piano online, I would suggest using all the free information that's out there, but if you don't want to look for it and want something more structured, you can buy a much cheaper course like Piano for All, or from someone like Charles Cornell, or Tone-Based Piano, or Open Studio Jazz, or a huge amount of other options. However, the best way to learn piano is to get in-person lessons. You could get over a year of real lessons for the price of Stephen's course, and it would absolutely be worth it. Taking all of this into consideration, you would hope that a course like this would at least have a good refund policy, but it doesn't even have that. Stephen promises a lifetime guaranteed refund, but based on the numerous bad Google and Trustpilot reviews of the Ridley Academy, it's pretty undeniable that Stephen is not following through with these promises. Some people have said that they haven't had a problem with the refunds, which is good, but there are definitely a lot of people who have. Now, all of my opinions on the course are mostly based on my own experience from having spent almost my entire life in the piano world, but I also have statistics on my side. As you can see from this handy bar graph, 0% of good pianists were taught by Stephen Ridley, while 100% of good pianists were not taught by Stephen Ridley. So we know Stephen Ridley is deceiving people and taking their money. This sounds pretty bad, right? Well, it's just the tip of the iceberg. It gets so much worse. In November of 2018, just a month before he first mentioned the Ridley Academy, Stephen announced that he was a Scientologist and had been one for 4 years. This is very significant, but in order for everyone to fully understand this and the rest of the video, I'm going to have to give you guys a bit of a Scientology crash course. In 1950, Lafayette Ronald Hubbard, more commonly known as L. Ron Hubbard, who was an American science fiction author, invented his own pseudoscientific form of therapy that he called Dianetics. Early attempts to promote his ideas failed, and in 1953, he revamped Dianetics in the form of a religion he called Scientology. One of the main core principles behind Scientology is the Bridge to Total Freedom, which is a series of increasing levels of spiritual enlightenment, each of which cost an increasing amount of money to pass. Scientologists ascend up these levels by going through a process called auditing, in which they are interrogated using hypnosis techniques while attached to an electrical resistance meter. The purpose of auditing is to rid the mind of engrams, which are traumatic memories that supposedly cause mental and physical problems. Once a person is free of engrams, they reach the state of clear. At this point, they can start to ascend up the operating thetan levels, which are usually referred to as OT levels. The purpose of these is to rid the body of body thetans, which are basically disembodied spirits that everyone is infected with. These body thetans supposedly entered the world 75 million years ago after an intergalactic alien dictator named Xenu transported millions of aliens to Earth and then killed them with hydrogen bombs. As one progresses up the OT levels, the fees get more expensive, up into the hundreds of thousands of dollars, and more outlandish beliefs are gradually revealed. This might be one of the craziest things you've ever heard, but it gets worse from here. The Church of Scientology has done a lot of bad things. These include criminally infiltrating the United States government, illegally spying on government agencies and law enforcement in Canada, various fraud, harassing and suing critics, and a lot of alleged mistreatment of its members, from human trafficking to child abuse, plus the intentional attempted covering up of all of these things. Scientology also uses a lot of dishonest recruiting strategies such as front groups, which are Scientology-backed organizations with the goal of recruiting people for Scientology while hiding the fact that they have anything to do with Scientology. And this brings us back very neatly to the Ridley Academy. You might think that although Scientology is a very bad organization, and Stephen happens to be a part of it, this doesn't necessarily have anything to do with his scam course. Unfortunately, it does. Firstly, Stephen, like any Scientologist who has been one for many years, has given a lot of money to the church. A good portion of this money is most likely from people who bought his course, who are supporting Scientology without their knowledge. Secondly, and this is the more important issue, accusations have been made that the Ridley Academy is a Scientology recruitment front. 3 years ago, a now deleted account posted this on r/piano on Reddit. The poster alleges that emails were sent to their daughter from the Ridley Academy with links to mental health resources and personality tests, which led to the Scientology website. They also claim that Stephen tries to get the young and vulnerable women in the academy to develop feelings for him, so they are more easily manipulated by his recruitment tactics. Of course, I'm not just going to trust the word of some anonymous person on Reddit with no further information, so I had to do some research. This person claimed that the recruiting emails were sent by a man named Charlie Wakley. It turns out, Charlie Wakley is quite a high-ranking member of the London Church of Scientology and has been involved with them for many years. Charlie works in Division 6 of the church, which is the division responsible for spreading the word of Scientology into the public. In other words, Charlie's job is to recruit people. He has been something of a public face for the London Church of Scientology over the years, and has appeared in many of their promotional materials. In 2019, Tony Ortega, one of the leading journalists dedicated to the coverage of all things Scientology related, published this article about Charlie Wakley. It's titled, "Scientology's Secret Weapon to Get Its Clutches on Your Children." In it, he shares an email sent by Charlie to some other members of the London Scientology org, in which Charlie says, "I have become a bit of an expert when it comes to getting kids and youth on the bridge," of course referring to the Bridge of Total Freedom. In September of 2020, right around when Stephen was really starting to push the advertising for the Ridley Academy, Charlie Wakley made a post with Stephen on Instagram, saying in the caption that he would be teaming up with Stephen to offer people help with their mental well-being and self-development in an effort to offer entrepreneurs and artists a proven way to reach their full potential. What he meant by this is that he was going to be working for the Ridley Academy, and I know this because I talked to him.
I'm not interested in really answering your question.
Here's how I did it. In order to research for this video, I decided to attend Stephen's live masterclass, which I believe was actually live when I watched it. Anyway, it was supposed to last an hour, but it went on for 4 hours. It was very, very, very painful to sit through. During the last 2 hours of it, all Stephen did was try to pressure everyone into buying the course, which he discounted to $1,400 like he usually does. And let me tell you, he is determined. He is so determined to get people to buy the course that if you're on the fence about it, you can fill out a form with your contact information, and a Ridley Academy representative will personally call you and pressure you into buying the course. The 2 representatives tasked with this were a guy named Cody and Charlie Wakley. So I filled out the form twice to maximize my chances of talking to both of them. First, I talked to Cody. At first, I had to pretend like I was interested in buying the course to gain his trust.
Hey, Raphael, this is Cody.
Oh yeah, hi Cody.
Hey, nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you too. So I just watched the masterclass. Looks super cool.
Excellent.
Eventually, I asked him this. So what would you say about some of the people online who have alleged that they have gotten emails from the Ridley Academy with links to mental health resources that have led to the Scientology website?
I have no idea about that. I know that Stephen himself practices Scientology, and it helped him, and I think what happened on that was, first let me take a step back. I'm aware of the fact that there's like 6 or 7 really bad reviews of the Ridley Academy. The only issue with the bad reviews is that it's come from people who've never done the Academy. I wish one of them said, like, hey, I did the Academy and it wasn't good. You know? It just never says that. I mean, obviously, if something's really, 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 really bad, then I guess it means people need to know. I don't know how someone can imagine. I don't know. A lot of people told me they're really happy. You know? So that's just the first thing. I think it's always important, like, the source of it. But yeah, I don't know. It's sort of like someone saying they're Jewish and then someone being like, oh, no, I'm not going to do a course if someone's Jewish.
Yeah, I mean,
like,
of course, like, you can believe whatever you want. That's fine. But I actually, I saw a post on someone who had done the Ridley Academy, or said her daughter had done the Ridley Academy, actually made a post on Reddit a couple years ago, and she said that they were getting like emails from Charlie Wakley. You know Charlie, right? They were getting emails from Charlie leading them to Scientology services, and I thought that was kind of strange.
I mean, all I know is what I had mentioned to you. I guess you got a question, you said that.
That's pretty much as far as we got. The rest of the conversation wasn't very interesting. Then, I talked to Charlie. I started the same way I started with Cody. Oh yeah, hi Charlie, how are you?
Yeah, good. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. Yeah, I just watched the masterclass and it looked really cool. When I got to the Scientology part, his responses were a little more interesting. Well, I do have another question for you, Mr. Wakley, which is, what do you have to say about some of the people online who have said that they've bought Stephen's course and they've received emails from the Ridley Academy with links to mental health resources and personality tests which led to the Church of Scientology website, and that those emails were from you?
Oh, I don't know about that. What's allegedly happened?
Well, there was a post on Reddit, actually, a couple years ago, and basically accusing the Ridley Academy of being a Scientology recruitment front. And, you know, I'm not going to just believe something I see on Reddit with no other context, but I have to admit it seems convincing, because I know that, you know, at the London Scientology org in Division 6, you know, one of your main duties was to recruit people, right? And now you're working for the Ridley Academy, so that seems a little suspicious.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. I'm a Scientologist. And we don't really use the word recruit, because you know, you don't convert to Scientology. It's kind of it's open to anyone. It's like a self-development or spiritual philosophy.
Of course, but you know, you're as a member of Division 6, that's kind of the division that's in charge of, you know, spreading the word of it, correct? And that's what your job was, pretty much.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's true.
Since that was your job, it does seem quite suspicious that you're now working for the Ridley Academy, and that there are people online who are alleging that you are doing this through the Ridley Academy.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's simply not true. There's no affiliation between the Ridley Academy and Scientology. You'll know Stephen's a Scientologist, I'm a Scientologist.
Yes.
A lot, not all, but a lot of people that work in the Academy are Scientologists, but it's a piano school. It's got nothing to do with Scientology.
Okay. Well, is there anything you want to say on behalf of the Ridley Academy to the people who think it's a scam and a Scientology recruitment front?
No, I mean, I'm not a spokesperson for the church or for the Ridley Academy. So, I mean, and also I find, you know, even your approach is very dishonest and misleading. You know, you could have just asked to speak to someone at the Ridley Academy, but you decided to, like, pretend to be someone interested, and then, so you're accusing us of stuff that you're doing yourself.
Well, yes, of course I've been dishonest in order to get this conversation with you, but first of all, I'm admitting it, and secondly, I'm not taking anybody's money or trying to recruit them into Scientology, as some people are accusing you of doing.
I'm not taking any of your money or talking to you about Scientology, so...
Yeah, I'm not accusing you of doing that to me.
Stuff that you're doing yourself.
You're not doing that to me, but the Ridley Academy is taking people's money for a scam piano course. So that is definitely something very wrong that the Ridley Academy is doing.
What do you do for a living?
Well, I do several different music-related jobs.
Uh-huh. So have you taught people music?
Yeah, I've taught some people, but since I'm still a student, I'm not really the most qualified teacher, so I charge a pretty reasonable amount for my services.
But you did take money off people to teach them music.
Yeah, but I actually taught them.
We have thousands of happy students who have paid us money to learn music. Well, look, you're entitled to your opinion. I think this conversation is just going to go around in circles, to be honest. I don't think this is the right program for you. I don't think, we're not interested in you doing the program, or I'm not interested in really answering your questions. But I appreciate you taking the time to have the call.
Okay, and I appreciate you talking to me, Charlie. And by the way, I actually made a video about the Ridley Academy a couple weeks ago, talking about how I believe it is a scam. And since then, several other people have made videos about it as well, also talking about how they believe it's a scam. So right now I'm trying to get more information, trying to get more of a perspective, trying to do more research, because I think this is a very important issue that I think I should explore further. So thank you for helping me with this.
Yeah, totally fine. Well, thanks for taking the time.
All right, Charlie. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay,
All right,
bye. So, as you would expect, Charlie denied it all. But it is definitely very suspicious that a Scientology recruiter who self-admittedly focuses on recruiting children is working for the Ridley Academy, and that someone who didn't even know who he was accused him of doing exactly that. So, there you have it. Obviously the course is a scam, and it sure looks like some Scientology recruiting is going on there as well. I can't fully prove this though, so I'll let you come to your own conclusion about that, now that we also have Charlie's side of the story. And this brings us to the end of the video. I would never ask you guys to smash that like button or smash that subscribe button, but if you want to, out of your own free will, I would still really appreciate it. Thanks for watching.
If something's really, 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 really bad, then I guess it means people need to know.